The views and opinions expressed by the guests of Sasquatch Experience do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the hosts, sponsors, or affiliates of the Sasquatch Experience. As always, listener discretion is advised.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Does a legend walk among us, lurking in the forests of our world?
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my sensor light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something looks like a man. I don't know what it was.
For over 15 years, we've talked with scientists, researchers, investigators, and witnesses, trying to gain insight and proof around the existence of this mysterious entity.
Jesus Christ, you better... Deal!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Join us as we continue into the investigation of the Sasquatch Experience. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sasquatch Experience, Monday, April 24th, 2023. It's me, Sean the Fork Chop Forker, back this week with Vance Nesbitt, good old JB, James Baker, Henry May, the Walking Bigfoot Encyclopedia, and our guest, my good friend, the founder, leader of the community of Got Knockers, and host of From Behind Tall Trees, Wednesday night, Gwen Purcell. Gwen, thanks for joining us tonight. Guys, how you doing? It's great to be here.
Good.
Yay. Just $2 a month. Oh, wait. I jumped the gun again. I'm sorry.
No, we haven't gotten to that yet.
So I was trying to get that $2.
Vance is on promo. Okay. So, big bulletin, big hit, Vance, getting a lot of commentary about it. Folks like it. So good job on the big bulletin.
Ooh, I like it.
Hopefully, we have the audio issue fixed that one of our listeners has been chatting me up with every week. Oh, I appreciate him, Mike, giving me feedback about how our audio is. We spend a god-awful lot of money to run this show, so we try to make it sound as best as possible for everyone. So bear witness, be patient, and just, be patient with us and give us feedback. We like feedback because the show's for you, the listener. Because if it wasn't, we'd just be four guys and a gal sitting around talking to a microphone. Bigfoot.
Oh, the conversations we would have.
Yeah, we've had. Of course, it's great to be back. We came back last week, Vance. We had, or 2 weeks ago, kind of just a general show, no real topical point, but kind of got back into the nitty gritty. But tonight we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Gwen, from Pennsylvania. She's not in Pennsylvania tonight, but she's in Pennsylvania most times. Actually, you'll find her all over the place. She's mobile. And
I am.
You've been hitting the conference circuit pretty hard with Got Knockers, and which is phenomenal. By the way, James and I met you in person for the first time, which is funny because we're practically neighbors.
Practically.
And the Great Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in Tennessee last year.
Yep.
And that was a wild event. And so we headed off. That we actually think we met at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference.
We did. We spent we spent like an hour talking in the aisle.
Yeah, well, everybody's trying to get around us. You and I are just standing there. Hey, that's what a conference is. I think folks forget that. A little bit of a rant here for a moment. That conferences are supposed to be a place to share information and network and connect, not just a flea market where people are selling their wares, which there's nothing wrong with that, but or listening to speakers. It's a whole event. It's an experience that folks really need to appreciate. And going back, and folks, if you haven't checked out the Sasquatch archives on YouTube, go ahead and do that. Todd Prescott has curated a lot of information, most of it that predates all of us. You're talking late 80s, early 90s of Sasquatchery, Don Keating, John Green, Peter Byrne, a young Todd Neese, a whole plethora of researchers who have been doing this since, the research was in its infancy. He's got all that information out on the internet right at your fingertips. So I don't have to go and lose my temper and tell people to read a damn book anymore. You can just go to the Sasquatch archives and watch a damn video. So one more way for you to consume information, because there's a lot out there. You're talking years, 60 years, 70 years of Sasquatch research that's now available really for anybody who wants to actually go out and do some research. So just a little shameless promotion there. But Gwen, why don't you tell us all how you got started into Bigfoot research? Because, it's not something everybody does.
It's not something I ever thought I would do, actually. I could have cared less about Bigfoot before February of 2021. And I saw this incredibly large black figure crossing the cornfield across from our house. And I've hunted my whole life and I've never seen anything like it. This thing was massive and it cleared that cornfield in seconds. And all afternoon I was real quiet. I'm trying to process what it was that I saw. I'm trying to come up with something that it could have been. And I got nothing. Like, that's the only thing it can be. I can't come up with anything else. And that moment started this whole, I started getting online and the research and other sightings in my area and surrounding areas. And it just deep dived down the rabbit hole that very day. And I've never come out.
Which is funny, because if you really have to dive deep to find sighting reports in our area, Pennsylvania, aside from the southwest part of the state, you're not going to find a lot in a database. You'll find some here and there, but you really won't find anything in northern central PA unless you really know where to go, because folks around here, as Gwen will tell you, it's a very conservative part of the state.
Yep.
A lot of hunters and outdoor enthusiasts and people that, Bigfoot's probably not the first thing on their mind. But how did you reconcile that, Gwen? It's not something you really considered before. One day you see this large black figure in a cornfield. How did your mind go to Bigfoot?
Oh, well, I watch a lot of Discovery Channel, and I'm always on Discovery Plus. Before I started this Bigfoot thing, I did paranormal investigating. So I've seen the Bigfoot shows, and I couldn't. I mean, it's not to say that there's not bears in my area, because I've hunted my whole life and I've never seen a bear in the woods ever.
It's funny.
So I've never seen one. I saw this sighting was 1,000 feet from my house. I've never seen a bear anywhere in my neighborhood ever. So, and a bear doesn't walk upright like that for that period of time and at that stride. Like, this thing cleared a cornfield in seconds. A bear would have never managed that. Not upright on two legs. Not the way that thing was walking. It just, there's nothing else. This thing had to have been 8 or 9 feet tall, and it was as broad as a barn, and it was black from head to toe, and it just crossed that cornfield like it was, ice skating on ice. It was ridiculous. And I just,
it's funny. Come up with. It's funny you say that about the bears, Gwen, because I don't know, all the years I've spent in the woods from the early 90s till today, I've seen a handful of bear, maybe. And I have a great video of a baby bear that we saw that tragically lost its mother and was abandoned. Bears getting into people's garbage cans, but I've never encountered one in the woods. Maybe once in the woods with my grandfather. That was it. But all the time I've spent in the woods, maybe I can count, now that I'm activating my mind, maybe 2 or 3 experiences in over 30 years of being in the woods. Yeah. That's crazy to think about. And we know they exist. there's lots of proof they're around, but you're encountering one in the woods is still a rarity.
But you talk about that when we first put the game camera up.
Mhm.
So when we first got the first footage, there was a bear. We went down there before and after, and like we saw deer sign everywhere. And this was before we really started to notice signs and stuff. There was no bear sign. If I wouldn't have saw that photos from the game cam, I'd have never known there was a bear on that land.
Yeah, and that's an important thing to note. Gwen, and the distance, how fast it traversed the. I've seen the field. You showed me the field. It's a sizable field. To have something move that fast across it is very interesting. Definitely not going to be something that would struggle walking on two legs for that long.
No,
Definitely
never.
something you're not going to misidentify as a bear, right? So,
No.
especially with your outdoors experience. So, you have a sighting. Then what do? You dive online. Where do you go from there?
Oh, well, I started researching festivals and conventions, which is, I met you at Salt Fork, which is the first festival I went to. I went on a BFRO expedition out in Western Pennsylvania and learned a lot, which is where I met Matt Arner and Carrie and her husband, Steve. Yeah, I met all of those guys on that trip. And I learned a lot, and I had some crazy experiences out there. So I went everywhere I could find to suck up any type of knowledge and get as much information as I could get.
You talk about Matt Arner again, a gentleman who's a wealth of knowledge who folks need to pay a lot more attention to because he's got a great background, a professional background, just a hell of a nice guy. I'm so proud to call him a good friend of ours, Gwen, somebody we research with, we trust.
Absolutely.
And somebody great to learn from.
And a good
and
attitude.
The fact that you were in a great attitude and you got to spend time with him in an area of Pennsylvania, a very active area of the state.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you want to talk about that expedition a little bit? What exactly kind of put you into the what got you excited about it?
Well, the BFRO seems like a big thing. Like you get online and you start researching Bigfoot encounters and reports, and the BFRO comes up a lot. So when I saw, I don't even know how I found this, but I saw somewhere that they were accepting people to go on this expedition, and it was $400 a person. My husband said, "You are freaking insane to spend that money to go on this Bigfoot expedition." But it was my birthday, and I was like, "I'm going." And I went out there. I knew no one. I didn't even know the BFRO guys. I didn't know anybody in the group, and literally the whole group hit it off. But I really melded with Matt and Steve and Carrie, and we all lived fairly close to each other, about an hour apart, all of us. And the first couple of nights we were out there, absolutely nothing happened. We got nothing. There was no howls, no growls, no footprints. We did a lot of hiking, but it was a good time. I mean, we were getting to know each other and sharing stories and experiences. And then that last night, it was incredible. That last night really sent me, if anything pole vaulted me down that rabbit hole, it was that night in the woods. It was me and Matt and the BFRO guy, and we had an experience that I will never, ever, ever forget. And to have it with Matt and be like, "You saw that, you heard that," was phenomenal. So
yeah. And
was it an audio experience or was it a visual experience?
I don't even know how to answer that. It was the three of us were standing on a logging road, and there was woods on both sides of us. And we heard something walking, and it definitely sounded bipedal, and the leaves were crunching, and all three of us pulled up our thermal cameras, and there was absolutely nothing there. But you could still hear this thing walking. It was Matt. It was amazing. I'm not even going to lie. It's an experience I will never forget. it was my first real Bigfoot experience. I mean, I'd seen it, but that was pretty much it until that point in the woods with the BFRO, and I just went like 150 miles an hour after that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And as you see there, Matt posts in the chat, that was an awesome experience. Closest we got. And as I was saying there, when Matt's a validator and he tries to eliminate everything you can possibly eliminate before he jumps to a conclusion, or I don't want to say, I should say arrives to a conclusion, not jumps to a conclusion. Right. And, really wants to validate what's going on. And it's invaluable. It really is. You're not going to hear me say anything anti-Matt Arner. But, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Stephen Carey, too, because, again, great friends, but great researchers. Carey was doing the show with you there for a little while, and they're out in the great outdoors right now, fulfilling a dream there, right?
Yeah, they're hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Which is hopefully, if they're listening or they get a chance to listen, they're doing well, and they keep checking in. It's great to see their photos. We wish them the best, and hopefully they, they stay safe down there. But again, great researchers.
Yeah, when they get up to Pennsylvania, I'm going to go on the trail with them for a couple of days.
Nice.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not going to miss an opportunity to be in the woods.
No. Matt and I were just talking about that today, actually. Have some events popping up. We'll fill you in when you get back from your vacation. Not that you ever really take a vacation.
No.
You're trying to put some skunk ape activities down in there while you're down there?
I would, but I'm here to see my daughter. They moved down here. My daughter and her wife moved down here about 3 weeks ago. So my mom and I hopped on a plane on Saturday and came down. We're only here till Wednesday, so yeah.
And then the fun ends.
Yeah.
Well, you deserve a break every now and then.
Thank you.
From the Bigfoot. But you've been doing, great stuff, Gwen. Again, we ran into you at the conferences, networking, really putting together a great portfolio of not just research. As you know, we all kind of belong to our tongue-in-cheek research group, Squatchers, which, we're going to be doing a lot more stuff there. But Gwen, you're really getting involved in the educational experience for youngsters.
I'm trying. I mean, these are the future of Bigfooting.
Mm-hmm.
How many people have we lost in the last 6 months to a year in the Bigfoot world?
Yeah.
I mean, some well-known, well-versed people. And once that knowledge is gone, it's gone. So we need to start passing this stuff on and get kids interested in being outdoors. That's the most important part. Sure. Getting these kids off the computer, off the game systems, and getting them outside.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's something remarkable. There's something great, Vance. Gwen, we've had my son out there with us a couple times.
I love
he always comes alive. He always comes alive when we get him out there. And he's got such a good mind for this research. And I'm not saying that because I'm his dad, because if he was as dumb as a rock, I'd tell you he was as dumb as a rock. Too. But he's got a good mind for this research. And it is about bringing, younger people into this and fostering a good, sensible, education around cryptozoology. Because there's a lot of crap information out there too. And it's about bringing them up right with that, but still allowing them to make some of their own decisions and reach their own conclusions, right? You don't want to indoctrinate somebody. You just want to point them in the right direction. Vance, you chopping at the bit there. You got a question?
I do. I am chopping at the bit. Gwen, my question to you, before you had your visual experience of this entity or creature or whatever it may be going across a cornfield, after that experience, did you reflect back to any times prior to that happening of odd occurrences around where you live and then not putting two and two together?
I actually did, because I got married in 2019 in June. And about 3 months prior to that, my neighbor's sister reads tarot cards, and my husband was away on a business trip, and they said, why don't you come up here? We're going to have a tarot card reading. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing anything. So I'll go up and see what's going on, And the tarot card reader started my tarot card reading. And in the middle of it, she said, you need to go sit by that tree. And she pointed down my yard. And I'm like, that tree behind the chicken coop? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, no, like it creeps me out. I've always felt like I was being watched in the woods, like something, just not a big fan of the woods out there. And I did go out there like a month later because I got pissed off and I was like, okay, you want to talk to me? Come and get me. Like, tell me what you want me to know. And the weirdest experience happened when I went out there. I actually got drained of all of my energy. I had no energy to walk back to the house. I got physically sick. Like something just zapped me and I had no idea what it was. And like we had weird experiences after that. Like, I mean, you always felt like you were being watched, but there was like a different tension. Like you could feel tension in the air and you were like, I'm not going to sit outside tonight. I'm going to go in the house. So like it was weird things. The dogs carrying on at nothing. Like they're at the door, scratching, barking, clawing to get outside. You open the door to let them out and they just cower. They won't leave the patio. And you're like, what the hell is happening? Like reflecting back, I looked at all of those instances and thought, holy shit. Like what if I was interacting with this thing the whole time and didn't know it was there?
Right.
Yeah.
All prior to the fact of you understanding some of these things that were happening to you, I'm assuming were just weird anomalies that you couldn't figure out why it was happening to you to begin with.
No idea. Had no idea.
Because I find the word zapped, that shows up so many times with people that have those experiences to feel, and they use that word, I felt zapped and felt like I was being watched. I've explained to Sean a while ago, I had my own personal experience. That's not what this show's about, but I never had the sensation of what it feels like to feel like you're being watched. Right. Sometimes I get the heebie-jeebies, but I don't know if that's what that feeling is. Maybe I'm just misconstruing it for myself, but yeah, that feeling of being watched and that zapped and not feeling good and not having energy, and you just want to kind of sit down and call it a day at that point. And that's terrifying.
It was 4:00 in the afternoon and my husband said, you want to sit and watch movies with me? And I said, no, I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. I'm tired. He's like, it's 4 in the afternoon. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to bed.
Wow.
It was awful.
Wow. Well, that's amazing that you're able to look back after you witness something and then be able to look backwards in time to try to draw those two situations that may be related to each other.
Right.
And it's pretty interesting within itself. Yeah, that's what I was chomping at the bit about, Sean. That's all. What happened before that?
Yeah.
All good questions.
But you haven't seen any physical evidence like footprints or broken limbs or anything like that?
I have had lots of that, actually.
Oh, really?
I send everything that happens. I document everything. I take photographic evidence. I keep a journal. I'm very meticulous about it. And everything I get, I take a picture, I send it to Sean. I don't even say what it is. I just send it to him and see by looking at it, what he thinks, what he says. And so I send a lot of stuff to Sean. Probably I have a lot of stuff Sean's not seen too, I'm sure.
Probably. You're probably right on that. When I was out at your house, well, the last time, your husband and I were out walking around and we saw some interesting tree breaks.
Yes. And
we were looking at, again, process of elimination. What could it be? Could it be natural? Could it be, wind and I think we could rule out some of those things with some of the odd ways that they were broken. But you also have chickens and something that does like to approach the chicken coop. Now, have you been able to, did you put a camera out near there or any kind of sensor?
I have 2 cameras out there, one facing the woods behind the chicken coop and one facing, like, you can see the chicken coop, but it's kind of facing the woods past the chicken coop. And I've gotten some very strange things. I've gotten some eye shine. You can't make out a body, but you can definitely see eye shine. They're bright, glowing eyes. And the thing about it is the wood line behind the chicken coop is very steep. Like, so as soon as you hit that wood line, it goes down.
I was going to
And
say,
yeah,
if I could interject there quick,
Oh, go ahead.
when the woods behind that chicken coop are not conducive to somebody just messing around, it's very dangerous. In fact, it's almost at some points damn near vertical to ascend to get back up once you go down it.
Mm-hmm.
I misjudged my my physical abilities to do it, and I made it, but it was definitely a workout for my fat ass. And but it's not for the faint of heart. You'd think because off one part of her land it's kind of flat, but then you start trying to get around to where these chickens are, and it's definitely, you could break your neck real quick messing around. So whatever's coming after these chickens or visiting these chickens has a good capacity to being able to traverse that geography.
Yeah. But where this eye shine is in the trees, I'm estimating based on where it landed in the tree in relation to where I think it was standing, it's about 10 feet.
You're
Wow.
pretty large.
Because the land traverses so hard. Now, in that one photo, I believe I sent it to Sean, there's actually two eyes shine. There's the one that's standing that's about 10 foot, and then there's a smaller one off to the right of it, looking at it, looking towards the bigger subject. And it's shorter. So I believe, based on all of the evidence that I've been able to collect, that I at least have an adult and a juvenile
That could
walking around
pass through there. Yeah. Or even if not, it's either a little further back or it's down off a little embankment. There's a subjectivity there, but I'm telling you, the area is not conducive to just somebody fooling around. Or
okay, so this brings me to another question. Do you sleep with your blinds and windows closed? Or do you keep the windows open so you can see outside? Because I don't know if I'd want to open my eyes in the middle of the night because I got to go tinkle and see some massive thing staring at me. That would kind of creep me out.
I used to sleep with my blinds open. I do not anymore.
Can't say I blame you. I cannot say I blame you.
One night,
I was going to say, if you didn't have to pee before, you have to pee now.
Right?
There was one night that my husband was away because he works remote from home. So sometimes he has to go to wherever it is that he's working. And the blinds were open and I was going to bed and I looked out the blind and I saw these two red eyes staring back at me. And I document everything. So I snapped a photo, got the picture of the red eye. I started searching my house. What could make that reflection in the window? Well, there's nothing. All the lights were out and I don't have anything red in my house. So, I'm a gun-toting Pennsylvania person. So I grabbed my handgun and I grabbed a flashlight and I ran around the front of the house where these red lights were and I couldn't find them. And so I started snapping photos and I just kind of panned the yard and then went back to the window. And when I went back to the window, the same window, the first picture I took, there was nothing in the window. But after I panned and I went back, there was a handprint in the window.
Wow.
A muddy handprint. And it nearly scared the shit out of me. I went in the house, closed the blind, and never opened them again. I don't want to know.
Yeah. That's a hard night's sleep right there to calm yourself down to be able to sleep through the night after that. That's insane.
It really is, Manson. When you see it, I've seen the photographs. The first question, again, I hit Gwen with the battery of questions. Do you have anything in there that could be producing red reflection? Do you have any electronics in there? Do you have anything outside? Do your neighbors have anything that could, theoretically cause that? Are they taillights? We went through everything and nothing. And I've been there on the property and I've seen the window, like it, it adds up. So again, does she have something frequenting out there? Yeah, I would say so. We're just trying to really document it and get proof of it. And she's on top of it. I'll say that for anybody listening that has doubts that she's just another person telling it. No, she's on top of it. She sends me she sends me everything for the most part. Like if
Pretty
it's
much.
new and whether it's something important or something not, she shares it with me and probably with the other members of our group so we can opine about it.
Yep.
And it's important to do that. I think it's the best way to do it because I'm not going to have all the answers, but maybe Matt has the answers, or maybe Carrie or Steve or somebody has saw something that, oh, I can explain that because I've seen it here. Like that's the power of, the hive mind. And that's what Gwen's trying to do with all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's 9:30, guys. We do have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get James and Henry on board to ask a couple questions and get a little bit more talking about Got Knockers, folks. Stay tuned. We got the Bigfoot Bulletin coming right at you as soon as I can find the damn button. Here it is.
News team, assemble!
Yes. Once again, you're listening to another edition of the Sasquatch Experience Bigfoot Bullhorn News. And to kick things off, I'd like to wish a very happy birthday this past Friday to an avid listener and watcher who has yet not to miss a show, Miss Valerie Riles. She also happens to be my best girl, so happy birthday, Valerie, and thank you for being part of this little group. On to the news. On May 6th, the Ford City Public Library will play host to Bigfoot and UFO researcher Stan Gordon. Gordon visited the Ford City last October, and it was a very popular program, so he was invited back, said Katie Wolf, the library's program coordinator. The event is titled Strange Aspects of Elusive Bigfoot, and it will take place at 2 p.m. on the event date at the library, which is located at 1136 4th Avenue in Ford City, Pennsylvania. Now, I am aware that most all of you that are listening are familiar with Stan Gordon, but if not, and you're new, Stan Gordon began his investigating reports of Bigfoot sightings in Pennsylvania in the late 1960s. Since then, he's interviewed hundreds of witnesses who claim to have encountered these strange hairy creatures. Sightings of Bigfoot continue to take place yearly in Pennsylvania and across the country, but why have no bodies ever been found? You will hear about some of the strangest cases ever documented about Bigfoot. Could Bigfoot be something other than an undiscovered animal species? Incidents involving Bigfoot and UFOs seen together, trails of Bigfoot tracks that suddenly and abruptly stop with no explanation, and possible government interest in these incidents are just some of the startling details you will learn about his illustrated lecture. You will also hear about the latest Bigfoot and UFO encounters around the area that have taken place the last couple of years. Mr. Gordon will also hold a question and answer session and have books and DVDs available for signing and purchase. Pre-registration is required for planning purposes. Those seeking additional information or want to pre-register are asked to call the library at area code 724-763-3591. Again, 724-763-3591 by May 5th of this year. When we come back, the University of Pittsburgh Library has made a very unique discovery within their confines of a Bigfoot movie by George Romero. We'll talk about that when we come back.
You're listening to the Sasquatch Experience.
Got knockers? I know I don't. Welcoming our new sponsor to the Sasquatch Experience, Got Knockers, a fun and innovating group with products and conversations alike. Wear proudly the Bigfoot Got Knockers apparel at Etsy. Just search Got Knockers on Etsy. Then be sure to go over to the Facebook and join the Got Knockers community with numerous popular names you've heard of and trust. Thank you to Got Knockers for this new venture. Again, visit Etsy, Got Knockers, and the Facebook community group.
Quand il me prend dans ses bras, qu'il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose.
The University of Pittsburgh Library System has been hard at work sifting through the archives of late filmmaker George A. Romero, discovering plenty of surprises along the way. Now the team behind the effort has unearthed yet another unknown bit of Romero's work, and fans of the horror genre will soon get to experience it. It was recently announced that archivists found a 35mm negative print of a previously unseen short film in the George Romero Archival Collection, which was acquired by Pitt back in 2018, and it's titled Jacaranda Joe. A film synopsis provided in an email from Pitt says that in 1994, Romero traveled to Valencia Community College in Central Florida to make a short film about the swamp-dwelling Bigfoot. Pitt did screen the film, which was described as being largely unknown and presumed lost, on Tuesday, April 12th, during a virtual webinar. The current event will mark the first time ever that the film was shown to the public. Thanks again for listening to this edition of the Sasquatch Experience Bigfoot Bullhorn News. And until next time, keep your toes in the mud.
What if I don't want to keep my toes in the mud?
Keep your toes in the mud. I demand that you do.
Well, thank you for that, Vance. Great segment as always. Mr. Stan Gordon, guys, get out there and see Stan. If you haven't had an opportunity to do so, do it. Good guy. Yep. Welcome back, folks. Sasquatch Experience. Sean Forker, James Baker, Henry May, Vance Nesbitt, and our guest tonight, Gwen Purcell from Got Knockers from Behind Tall Trees. She's everywhere, folks. Gwen, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit about your Bigfoot journey so far. Baker, Henry, any questions you gentlemen have? Because Vance and I tend to hog the segment.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Gwen about, has she found any other type of trace evidence around her home, like footprints or strange odors or anything like that?
We have had periods, or I should say episodes, where we've had some really strange odors. Like just smells like garbage. It's garbage mixed with death. I don't know how else to describe it. It's terrible. Like we've come home from places and you get out of the car and you're like, what the hell is that smell? Like, it's just terrible. The ground that we have is not super conducive to prints because it's a lot of shale. I have captured two. They're hard to look at when you're on the picture, but if you're standing over top of them, you're like, oh my gosh, that could be a footprint. I've snapped photos of them and documented like their size, but when you look at the picture, it's just hard to see. So I haven't bothered to even share them with anybody because they're just not conclusive enough. And I mean, we have, like Sean said, we have had quite a few tree breaks, branches ripped out of trees and then shoved back in behind the break, like outside branches broken and then shoved back in the tree. We've had, there's actually a tree branch that points to my house down in the woods that I've never seen before.
I want to take a minute to
And I've tried to find where this tree could have come from. and I can't find where the rest of the tree is, but it's leaned up against another tree and it's pointed right at my house like a marker, like to say, hey, this is the place. I don't know. I mean, I just know that that's there. I don't know what the purpose is it or anything, but yeah, we've had those. And I did catch I was out with Steve actually, and we caught a big hair, like a piece of hair that was ripped off, and we split the sample. He has half and I have half, but we haven't done it. Neither one of us have done anything with the sample yet.
Now we've heard some vocalizations out there too.
We have.
Were you able to get any on recordings, Gwen?
Funny you should ask. I do not go out there without a voice recorder. Carrie and I sleep in the backyard a lot. We pitch tents. We sleep out there. I leave a voice recorder out all night long. I got the one night we were out there, I heard a giggle in the middle of the night. I thought it was, so I just rolled back over and went to sleep. That same night, she heard my voice come from the chicken coop. So she thought I was up. She got 6 a.m. I can assure you, if I'm not working, I'm not up at 6 a.m. She got out of the tent and I was sound asleep, snoring away, and it wasn't me. When I got up and when I did finally get up 7:30, she was waiting for me. And she's like, do you talk to your chickens? And I said, yeah. What do you say? And I'm like, hello, ladies. And she nearly freaked out because that's exactly the voice that came from the chicken coop. She swore it was me saying hello, ladies, to the chickens. And I happen to have that on voice recording.
That's so weird.
It's pretty wild. Yeah, I haven't shared those with anybody.
Yeah, I got to hear those. I remember Carrie talking about that when we were up there, Gwen. But again, Vance, let's think back to some other folks we've had on the program.
Yeah, right. Julie. Yeah, right.
Julie mentioned everything that she had. That's not uncommon to hear of that sort of behavior, Gwen. It's this is the stuff that drives me and keeps me going. When you can start connecting behaviors and repeat patterns, and hey, not only is it happening to these folks, hey, guess what? That was in North Carolina. This is in Pennsylvania, and it's the same behavior.
Right.
And guess what? They've probably reported that behavior in Washington, Oregon, California, everywhere in between.
Well, I have heard of circumstances coming from the Pacific Northwest with mimics of the same effect. And I wonder to myself, is the mimic done just to calm down the creatures in the area with something that it's familiar with, like you, Gwen, saying, hello, ladies, or whatever to the chickens, that keeps the chickens calm. They know who you are. And then here's maybe a predatory beast saying the same thing to keep everything calm while they try to figure out how to get a chicken. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but what's the point other than it's to calm the environment down while it's doing a predatory move? I don't know. It's creepy. It's beyond creepy, actually. I have no words.
It's weird because we have a rooster in with the hens, and there are some nights when you don't hear those chickens at all, and there are other nights when that rooster is crowing for all it's worth. And I'm like, something's going on outside. And I have walked out there with a flashlight, gone down to the chicken coop, and I'm in the woods with the flashlight, and I don't see a damn thing. That rooster is upset about something, and he's just crowing like there's no tomorrow. Wow. So I know when something's going on out there because yeah.
I mean, I could imagine there'd be times that normal known wildlife might be being predacious around a chicken coop, like a fox or coyote or something. I could see that, and it disturbs them. But when you do go out there, those type of creatures seem to be very wary and will just leave the area instantly. Right. But to go out there with a flashlight, Yeah, I think I'm bringing a little bit more than just a flashlight with me to go out there. I don't know. I might want the, Air National Guard 2nd Airborne out there with me or something. I don't know. That's crazy.
You
I'm
big
not-
weenie.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I don't get scared because I'm a tough girl, and I will go out there, and I will go out there alone with my gun and my flashlight, but I'm still shitting my pants the whole way down there.
Yeah. Likewise, I know
But
I
still
would.
go. I still
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Well, kudos to you.
JB?
Do you think, how many years have you lived out there in general?
7.
Do you think as you develop your land and your farm and your areas and stuff like that, do you see that it draws it in more or it makes it go away more?
I think it draws it in more, to be honest. We just had quite a bit of landscaping done, and they came with a big piece of machinery, and they tore that whole one section of forest out. And I immediately, I came home from work and I saw that all these trees were gone, and I went, oh my God. And my husband was like, what? And the landscaper was standing right there, and I'm like, somebody's not going to be happy about this. And he wasn't. And the next morning I come out, there was a tree broke at 5 feet in the air, and it was standing the day before. He lets us know when they're not happy about something.
Because I wondered that because I found that when I got a little bit of land, and I found when I develop things, the animals go over and look at what I was doing. I've been making this area for a little mini putt, and when I started cutting the trees down, I started making them into a certain thing, or when I started putting the hay bales in or moving stuff around, the next day the game cams would be full of deer in that area. What's he doing over there?
Yeah.
Well, the next day when I came back in, there'd be deer poop in places that weren't, you start to know your land,
Absolutely.
And the thing is I wondered that with a lot of times because we talk about deforestation, and we talk about a variety of how a lot of times we're stepping into nature's areas, and then we're wondering, well, why are there bears downtown? Well, because downtown used to be a forest. They don't know the difference. They just know there's food in the big cans. But so I wondered the same thing with you was as you develop it, like you said, you're growing corn, you got chickens now. Do you think you're drawing in more? They're still keeping their zone. Like you said, when you knock down a tree, they know it and they're pissed off. But do you think you draw them in more? Oh, look, there's some corn on us, and now we have something to eat more. And
I got to be honest. When Carrie and I had that experience with the mimicking outside the chicken coop, I had to really sit back and reflect and wonder, how long have they been watching me?
Mm-hmm.
Have they been here this whole time? And it's not the first time. The night that Sean and Matt were at the house and we did some research in the woods, I knew the next day that they were not happy about the group of us being out in the woods because there were tree breaks right along the edge of the property. That tree was not broken yet last night when we were out here, but this morning it snapped off at 5 feet. I mean, there's been multiple times where I distinctly get it. The next morning I wake up, I go outside and I'm like, yep, somebody's not happy. I just know. They let me know. So I don't, they have to have been watching me for quite some time. I don't know what the fascination is. I'm really a boring person, but
it's the interaction, I think. In a way, you are interacting, you're responding, and you haven't taken anything away that they still find interesting, like the chickens. The chickens are still there. And have you had any chickens killed?
Yes. We actually, I came home one day from work and there was a chicken loose. And now these are fully caged chickens, roof, walls, the whole 9 yards.
You have a nice little home there.
I do. I have an electric fence around the whole bottom half of the chicken coop, so nothing gets in there.
Don't pee on it.
Yeah, don't pee on it. I got zapped the other day, but not peeing on it. By the way, I just touched it accidentally.
Oh, well, that's good to know. All right, thank you.
My picture in my head was way better.
I know.
No.
After I said it, I was like, I should probably clarify that.
Oh God. Oh,
But I came home and found this chicken out. I got her back in the pen and decided to go and see where it was she was getting out of. And the whole side of the pen, the bottom half, had been ripped away. Now it's on there with some pretty sizable, you have to nail these U-shaped brackets in to hold this fence in. And the U-shaped brackets were all just hanging there. Something had put its hands in there and ripped that fencing away. And then when I got around to the back side, the top half of the chicken coop is just chicken wire. It wasn't torn. It was just pulled away and rolled back like a sardine can. And I had feathers everywhere. Yeah, I was missing probably about 3 or 4 chickens. They were gone.
And it's not hastily built. It's not ramshacky. It's a pretty nice structure that these chickens stay in. So I mean, it's more elaborate than it sounds. But she's right. It was peeled back, and it was just interesting. Tragic, interesting. That
any kind of research that you've done previous to the 7 years that you've lived there at all, through the township or newspaper articles or library?
Our house was built in 99, and we're only the second owners of the house. Previous to that, it was just farmland. Now, the only thing I can find is that there were Susquehannock Indians that lived in Sunbury, and they had a trail that went from Sunbury to Shamokin, and it went right through my backyard. So that's the only thing I can find historically.
But when you think farmland, it's a farm in the mountainous kind of hollow type area. It's very interesting to describe the property she lives in and the area it's in, because it's a farmland, but it's in the hills with some steep ash drops off in her backyard. It's very interesting. It's not what you typically think of farmland. That's why I wanted to kind of add some elaboration on that.
Right.
Very different.
So is this it's going to sound like a silly question, Gwen. Is this a good thing for you, or is this something that, nah, I didn't sign up for this?
You know, in the beginning, I would have said I didn't sign up for this. But learning everything that I've learned, and I'm far from an expert, and I learn new things every day. Most of it on my own, but a lot of it, I learn a lot from other people that I get a chance to interact with and meet and talk to at conferences and festivals. But I now think it's, I don't know, I've kind of taken it on kind of as my duty. Like, I have a duty now. Like, I don't know why these things are happening. I don't know why they're happening to me. I don't know what the fascination is that they've decided to interact with me on my neighborhood, because I can go to my neighbors and I'm constantly asking them, have you heard anything? Have you seen anything? And they think I'm crazy. All of them think I'm crazy. They're like, no, Gwen, we haven't seen Bigfoot.
Get off my porch.
Right. But I just think now it's kind of like my job. It's a job now.
Well, you're a great student of the research, Gwen. You really are.
Well, thank you.
I think
Thank you.
You learn, you ask questions, you make suggestions, you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. Great to work with. I'll say that. I enjoy our research partnership, which is only going to amp up this year because we've got so much to do. It seems like every day something new's coming along the pipeline that we just got to get our hands on. It's just finding time, because you know what, folks, we are real people with real lives too. So you got to factor this.
Yeah.
But it's great stuff, and I'm privileged that you came on the show with us tonight. I'm glad you're in the search. It's been glad to know you and to research with you. And so, tell us a little bit about the show, where folks can listen, and who's been the favorite person you've interviewed so far besides me.
Well, the show is called From Behind Tall Trees. It's on the CARC Universal Network on YouTube. This year I'm doing the show solo. I'm probably going to have a guest co-host from time to time. And my favorite guest. Besides Sean Forker, would have to be Matt.
Cheap plug, cheap plug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, Matt's
I
phenomenal, guys.
He
Really
is.
is.
He's a wealth of knowledge, and coming from the background that he has, like I really lean on him. Like when I send you guys those eye shine photos, I really lean on him to say, hey, we need to get out there and we need to measure where this stuff is, because he's great at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it's what he does. He's
It's his
excellent.
background.
That's
Right.
his background. So yeah, I can't thank you guys enough, because if it wasn't for Matt, I would have never met you. Because at Salt Fork, Matt was very adamant about, you got to meet my friend Sean. You got to meet my friend Sean. And I got it. I was just saying to my mom yesterday, I'm like, this Bigfoot community, it's like a double-edged sword. You either find the best people you've ever met in your entire life, and you become
Or you
lifelong
find shit
friends,
bags.
or you find shitbags that are just awful to deal with,
Yeah,
and you just wish you
right.
never met them. And
Yeah.
so I've gotten super lucky that I've gotten to meet great people. So I never regret going down this rabbit hole, because without this rabbit hole, I wouldn't have Sean, Matt, Steve, Carrie. I wouldn't have the guys at the CARC that have become like brothers to me. Like it's just become, we're like a family. It's
Right.
It is. Very
It's
much
awesome.
so.
Right.
Yep.
And we're all in this together, like it or not, to find out, answers, right? And to think
Right.
about this, Gwen, I guess I'll cap the show off with this final thought, besides giving you guys an opportunity to give yours. This research has been going on now since the 50s, and we're still no damn closer to finding the truth than we were back then. So eventually something's got to give. And, what better group of people to research with than you guys, honestly. Baker, you're coming up almost on 20 years of research yourself now. The thought about
Yeah.
that. You've been involved in this for almost as long. It's crazy to think about.
Mhm.
So, guys, that's kind of my final thought tonight. I'll go ahead and give you yours, and then we'll let Gwen plug anything final she's got.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, Gwen, thank you, because when people share their story, whether it's really brief or it's in depth, and I think we all go through the same thing. We have the image in our head as you're telling the story, because you're illustrating images as a story is being told. And that's how I draw a correlation to what it is that you're sharing, and an understanding of when you see something for one time and it changes your life. It truly changes your life. And for, I will say, 1,000 witnesses that have seen something once and it's changed their life, and they need to know answers. And then I'm left holding the bag going, maybe this damn thing is smarter than all of us, and that's why we don't have any answers yet. How crazy is it? Just like Sean said, we've been intently researching this since the 50s. It's been around a lot longer than that, but intently researching it, and yet we still don't have any more answers. Really, what's the intellect level here that it can actually be seen, and yet we still don't know what it is? But thank you for sharing the experiences, the story, the witness, the evidence, and thanks for coming on the show. I greatly
Thanks for having
appreciate it.
Yeah. It takes a lot of bravery to share your account sometimes, because you don't know who to talk to sometimes.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Matt Arner writes, Gwen is a fantastic host on her show and was an awesome guest tonight. Great show tonight. Thanks, Matt, for listening. Always support.
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Matt. It's $2 a month, by the way.
Hey, wait, hold on. Give us an opportunity here. For as little as $2 a month, you could support Sasquatch Experience, get access to ad-free shows, and more stuff coming down the pike. The ad-free shows make it worth it in itself. But again, folks, we're not trying to make money off here. We're just trying to lessen the burden a little bit, because this show's funded from the In Our Pocket Fund. And this is a hobby. We all have real jobs that we generally enjoy. So, this is just a little extra way to keep it going and add some fun stuff to the list. Report it. Report your sightings or encounters. Info at SasquatchExperience.com. There you go. Baker, anything final?
Not much. I mean, I thank you for your story, and I'm glad that you're an average person, because a lot of times when people start talking about cohabitation and things like that, they go a little extra. Yeah, it was over at my house. I gave it pie and da-da-da. And some of the things like Vince says, it's I've always said it's either got to be smarter than us or non-existent. There has to be one way or the other, because there's no way that it's just an animal, because if it's just an animal, we'd have just hit it with a car.
Right.
True.
So
Yeah.
thank you for your time, and thank you for answering my random questions. I'm good.
Thank you for having me. It was fantastic.
When any final plug there, and Baker is going to kill us with his cough.
It's COVID.
Gwen, what do you, Gwen? Where can folks find you at, and where are you going to be next?
Well, May 6th, I'm going to be in Salt Fork. I actually secured a vendor spot there, so I will be there all day. And then on the following weekend, I'll be in Caledonia, New York. And then the third weekend in May, I will be at Pennhurst near Philly for a show. And then I'm taking the weekend off. The next week.
Stop being so lazy.
How dare she? Well, Gwen, again, thanks for joining us. We appreciate having you on. We'll have you on again here, because there's always more to talk about.
Always.
Henry, why don't you take us out with those dulcet tones?
Y'all be good or be good at it.
You've been listening to the Sasquatch Experience, folks. Find us on Twitter, SquatchEXP, Facebook, Sasquatch Experience, or Instagram. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Sasquatch Experience. Please rate and review wherever this podcast is consumed. To share your experience, visit us on Facebook or email us, squatchexperience@gmail.com. Keep on squatching.